Thank you, thank you. I think this is going to be a very interesting panel. We have a mix of large international and local fintechs. We have Binance, we have Luno, we have FiveWays, and we have the new kid on the block, Bitget. My name is Andres Perez. I am the founder of the Fintech Association of South Africa, as well as the director of Fintech Services South Africa. And yeah, please introduce yourselves.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Wessels. I'm the general manager for Binance in South Africa, and we're delighted to be here.
Hi, good afternoon. Chris Tidevit. I'm the country manager for Luno South Africa.
Hello, it's Pierre van Helden. I'm the co-founder of FiveWest in South Africa.
Callan Richardson, and I'm head of growth for Southern and Central Africa for Bitget.
Okay, let's get started with the first thing is Bitcoin. We have seen over the last couple of months a lot of volatility, more than we have seen before. We saw the price of Bitcoin dipping to 66,000, and then we saw it getting to the high of 111,000. So there is different factors for this spike in Bitcoin. Is it going to be higher? Is it going to go lower? I think that, how many of you have Bitcoin or any sort of cryptocurrency here? Okay, so what we speak in this panel, do not take it as a financial advice. This is just our thoughts and sentiments. So please, if you go and buy Bitcoin and then you lose your crypto, please do not send me a lawyer's letter. So now, where are we with Bitcoin? How come that we have seen such a drastic spike from 66 to $111,000? What is driving this spike within Bitcoin right now?
I think you got to go back to the Trump inauguration, the election, etc. Obviously, a lot of positive noises around the US Bitcoin reserve. We've also seen the tariffs come in. We saw what happened at the same time with the Bitcoin price going down, and I speak under correction, I think back to 73,000, and we're just under 110 this week. Again, that seems to be alleviating. I think the backdrop to that is also a lot of what the economists call M2 liquidity. For me, that remains the biggest driver. The rest is just risk on or risk off. As long as you've got a liquidity surplus cycle where we're in at the moment, I think that's going to continue driving the price.
Yeah, I struggled a little bit to hear Hannes, so sorry if I repeat everything that he's saying. But I think for me, when I look at it, the fundamental point of departure was last year, January, when we saw the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETFs in the US. That really signaled almost an institutional stamp of approval into Bitcoin and into crypto as an asset class. And I think as we look throughout 2024 into 2025, we saw that gaining momentum. And I think even now that absolute institutional support that we're seeing on the asset class is still, for me, a big driver of the price movement.
From my point of view, I look at it from a technical analysis point of view. I think there's two factors that have proven to create value for any crypto asset, and that's really the computational power on the blockchain, the hash rate on the blockchain, as well as active users. So if you look in terms of active users on the Bitcoin blockchain network, you're looking at an increase of 25% from 2024 to 2025. We're sitting at about 49 million active users. You can also look at the hash rate on the blockchain network. As I've said, that's the computational power, and that's also increased dramatically, with April 2025 being the highest hash rate computational power being used ever in the history of the Bitcoin network.
Yeah, I'd probably have to repeat what Christo said. I think the institutionals coming on board, the ETFs, and just the increased amounts of regulation, just adds a little bit more legitimacy to it. It gives it a bit more of a positive story. We've obviously seen the cycles with Bitcoin before. There are a lot of ups and downs, but there just seems to be a lot of positive sentiment across institutional investors and institutions globally. And I think that does obviously then filter down to retail users. When you start seeing international institutional adoption, it gives a little bit more of a peace of mind to the average man on the street, the retail investor. And yeah, I can only see it, don't take my word for this, but yeah, the more adoption, the more institutional adoption, it can only be positive at this stage.
I think, and we have seen that move between adoption and institutionals getting involved with cryptocurrency because of the regulations that have been established already and the regulations that are to be established, like everything that happened in America directly affect us. So we have the stablecoin bill, we have the crypto as a reserve. We saw Pakistan yesterday announced that they will use Bitcoin as a reserve. So all of this, I think, is stuff that the industry has advocated for. We've been asking for regulation because it builds that trust within the sector, within the public. Now, Binance, I think I saw in an article where you guys said like you are trading on a daily basis 88 billion rand in a day. That's a big number. That's more than what you said. Like that's bigger than ShopRite itself. Now, from an international point of view and for the local ones, what is it that you're seeing in South Africa? Are people buying more Bitcoin? Are they buying more USDT? Are they trading the Bitcoin? What are South African users doing with the cryptocurrency that they hold?
Yeah, for us, we still see very much an investment play. South Africa has a well-functioning banking system. So for us, it's more trading, buying and selling of coins. We've got more than 360 coins on the platform at the moment. But a lot of emphasis, I think, on that top 20. And it's for investment purposes. The payment products work really well, but we are matched by a very competitive banking system. So for us, it's at this stage all about the investment plan.
Chris, are people more tech savvy where the customer is asking for more functionalities from the platform like Luno? As I was saying to you, like Luno before was just a buy and sell platform where now you have added more functionalities because the customer has evolved.
Yeah.
So now the demand for more functionalities within the platform has grown, I believe, because people are more educated now. What is it that you're seeing now within the local ecosystem in South Africa?
I think what is quite remarkable about South Africa from a crypto point of view is that globally speaking, there's a lot of adoption, right? So estimates are between 10 to 12% of South Africans have touched crypto in the past or investing in crypto at the moment. And that's leaps ahead of some other countries. When we look at consumer behavior, most of the investors, crypto investors, they do that, like Hannes said, from investment purposes. We see a huge concentration on Bitcoin specifically, but then depending on market cap, we see the other altcoins also increasing. But then I think when we look at beyond the instant buy and sell and holding in terms of investment purposes, a platform like Luno, there's increasing utility. We've got very exciting products like staking, where you can allocate some of your crypto to the blockchain that is then used in terms of validating or securing the blockchain. That then allows investors to earn a yield on their cryptocurrency. We see quite a significant adoption on that and an increasing demand. And then there are other products as well, which customers are really adopting to. The bundles product, for instance, it's a basket of cryptocurrencies where a percentage is allocated to a set group of currencies. That just makes it a little bit easier for first-time crypto investors, taking a little bit of the puzzle out of which crypto to invest in. And then when you look at how do you bring this asset class to life, how do you give the utility to it? We've got Luno Pay, for instance, where you can, the crypto that you've built up in terms of building your wealth, how do you give that a real world utility? And I think Luno Pay does that fantastic. We saw in the media a while back with, you being able now at the moment to go and buy at Pick and Pay using your cryptocurrency. We've incorporated with Zapper, so it's now possible to use your cryptocurrency to purchase things at more than 30,000 merchants across the country. So it's really changing where crypto is previously just seen as this buying Bitcoin, holding it for investment purposes, to a broad scale of utility-driven functionality. And we see that the South African market is adopting really well to that and growing in that sense as well.
Okay. Up here, I have a different question for
Yeah, I
you.
would have to concur with Christo. I feel that the regulators, as well as the general public, are understanding far better the various use cases for crypto and the blockchain. So more and more people are starting to use crypto for remittance rails. They're using it to hedge themselves against local currencies. They are using it for a store of value. And they're using it based on the fact that you've got more and more entities providing friendly user interfaces. So your layer one typically takes care of the security and the decentralization of the blockchain. Layer twos are making it more affordable to transact on the blockchain. And you've got layer threes or fours, like exchanges like Luna or ourselves, who are creating these user faces that are able to offer more use cases and just making working with the blockchain so much easier than it was before.
Yeah, so I think, we focus on Africa, and if you look at sub-Saharan Africa, I think the last figures I saw was like 2.7% of sub-Saharan Africa is actually using crypto. So it's quite a low number. So we obviously trying to really educate the user, and I like the term crypto, but I prefer the term digital assets. So, we're trying to get people to use digital assets on a day-to-day basis. So we go back to the Bitcoin story, and it's great now because you use it as a store of wealth and people speculate on it, but initially it was used as a transactional item.
Still is.
So yeah, exactly. For some people, and some people are holding it, and some people are using it just as a, let's see how much we can make on it. So we see a lot of use case scenarios from payments companies looking to convert fiat into USDT and then use that from cross-border transactions. So when we look at the adoption versus transaction point, BitGet, we've got a Visa card. So that card is enabled on your account. You top it up with your USDT and you can spend that everywhere. So it's great that you see these stories in South Africa. The Garden Route's got a number of facilities now that take Bitcoin, but you want to make that accessible as possible. So you take your crypto card and you can spend that. So we've gone from that adoption phase to now that transactional phase as well. So we're trying to educate people that you can use crypto for these use case scenarios. You look at a lot of the institutions now that are coming on board, and I think this is where the legitimacy comes in. A lot of banks are rolling out digital custody, which I think will really push the agenda as well. As soon as you get the banks on board, they seem to have a louder voice with the regulators and what you can and can't use these products for. So yeah, I think we're very close to that transaction phase. But on the numbers that I stated before, there's still a lot of people that need to adopt it first. But I think over time it'll definitely happen. Like I say to everybody, when you tap your debit card, you're almost using a digital currency anyway. Nobody's seen that currency. So this fear of losing your currency to a digital asset, it's just about an education process. And I think the quicker we see that happen, the more adoption will take place.
Yeah, I think from personal experience, I think South Africa is at the forefront in Africa when it comes to trading, volumes, number of users that use cryptocurrency. I think there's about 6.57 million users in South Africa that hold or utilize some sort of crypto, and we see that number grow very quick every single month, right? Now, we've seen in El Salvador the case where they hold Bitcoin as a reserve. We've seen now Pakistan. I read the Norwegian government is also using Bitcoin as a reserve. Do we see South Africa holding Bitcoin as a reserve, and what is it going to take for us to get there? Are we going to be left behind with the current regulation that we have in place?
I think if you look at the governor of the central bank's last statements at Davos, he wasn't particularly keen. He says, why not a mutton reserve? Why not a this? I have a concern that we will fall behind. I think especially in a country like South Africa where we don't have a lot of forex reserve, we have a very volatile currency, and we have an increasing government debt load. I think to have a Bitcoin reserve could be a very good edge for us. So I would encourage the government to pick this up, to look at it seriously. A country like Pakistan that announced it recently, we need to remember how populous that country is. I mean, their population is multiples of what South Africa have, and I think it's going to make a big difference for them. So my message to any government agency is, please look at this in all seriousness. I think it can make a big difference.
No, I think there's a lot of value in considering holding Bitcoin as a reserve. Any government encourage it. But I think having that conversation in the South African context is getting ahead of ourselves, right? I think there's a lot of other changes that need to happen before we can even consider or encourage the government to hold Bitcoin as a reserve, even if we feel that there are multiple benefits to it. I think if we look at where crypto or digital assets, as we refer to it in South Africa now, stand at the moment, it's regulated as a financial product, but I don't think the regulation goes far enough for us to lay the foundation for the government to eventually consider holding Bitcoin as a reserve. There's still a lot of changes that needs to be made in terms of the broader regulation to include crypto or digital assets. I mean, we're speaking of clarity on exchange control, and I know that there was a High Court ruling very recently on it, and we are very hopeful that the Reserve Bank is going to be inclusive of that point. We are looking at the broader Financial Markets Act, crypto or digital assets not being considered as a mainstream financial product in that sense. So there's still a lot of progress that needs to be made, I think, before we can even start holding the discussion on a serious note, or whether or not it's beneficial for the South African government to consider crypto or Bitcoin as a reserve. But I think having these conversations and getting the regulators to start taking the asset class seriously, these are all helping and contributing towards making momentum in that space.
Yeah, from my point of view, I'm not sure how the Reserve Bank holding Bitcoin would assist them with monetary policies. There are far better assets that help them to control the money supply. Government bonds, I know government bonds are potentially at risk as the South African government goes more and more into debt. The only value I see is that if many other reserves start to adopt Bitcoin, it becomes a unit of account that they can exchange, which has value. That would be very efficient. And lastly, the aspect of Bitcoin being a limited supply, that's very unique in that way. It's an inelastic yield curve. So with gold, if the price goes up, they actually can mine more, which then devalues the value of that gold. That's not possible with Bitcoin, and that's quite a nice attribute to have.
Yeah, I think there's a number of real world use cases that can happen before that happens, and I think we need to get to that stage first. Obviously, the US announcing their version of a strategic reserve, if you want to call it that. It's taken place on the back of established ETFs, asset managers that are actually establishing funds. The first step we're taking in South Africa, there's a couple of banks that are now looking at digital custody, which I think then lays the foundation. If you've got digital custody, you can custodize those assets. You can have an asset manager that comes and launches an ETF. I think once a government or a regulator becomes a little bit more inclined to look at it on that level, they might start looking at it at a national government level. But I think we need to lay the foundations first. Do we need another mutual fund? Do we need another CIS fund? I think in South Africa at the moment, there's more CIS funds than there are stocks on the JSE. So, getting that first mover advantage and trying to push that conversation to say, let's launch a crypto ETF as a starter, regulate that, see what the uptake is like. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot more useful cases in South Africa that could be adopted before looking at it from a government level.
Yeah, and I think, being part of the industry, I think that we take one step forward, because as an industry participant, we've been asking for regulation because it's just beneficial for us, it's beneficial for the consumer, it's beneficial for everybody. Now, South Africa last year implemented the license regime for crypto asset service providers, where all of you have obtained your licenses. But now it seems like we have taken sort of like a step backwards with the recently court ruling that happened in Pretoria. And I think this is of interest for the end user as well. It's because all these regulations that happen in Pretoria, the FSCA, FIC, SARB, it directly affects how you treat your crypto, what you can do with your crypto, what you cannot do with your crypto. And the recent ruling is sort of like, I feel that it's taken a step, it could be forward, but it also opened a gray area where crypto is not treated as a capital under the South African existing exchange control rules, which means that you can actually send crypto overseas without having to go through an authorized dealer license, which is an ADLA or a bank or anything like that. So this opened a gray space both for innovation, but it also opened a space where we don't want to be there because we've been asking for these sort of regulations. We've been advocating to the Reserve Bank, please regulate, this is how you regulate the asset. Now, where, as an industry participant, what is your point of view on the recent ruling? Are we going forward? Are we going backwards? What's going to happen?
I think Krista said it well. I would also encourage the central bank to look at this responsibly and inclusively. South Africa has always had a exchange control regime that, for good reasons in the past, had to be instated. I think the time has kind of come and gone for that, where it's really the construct of it is really still valid. I think we need to use this opportunity to do it responsibly, include digital assets in a responsible framework where we can use it for people to grow their wealth without being overly concerned about where they need to put it, what they can do with it, etc. And it's an ideal moment for the government to take the country forward. And we hope they do so responsibly.
I mean, for those in the audience who might not be familiar with exchange control, right? South Africa is one of the few countries in the world that actually applies exchange control. And what that does, and the reason why it came into play, was to protect the outflow of South African rand from the borders of our country externally, right? Now, at the moment, cryptocurrency is not included under the classification of capital, and therefore, technically, the exchange control regulation does not apply to cryptocurrency, right? Now, what has happened in Pretoria earlier this month, there was a court ruling that said that explicitly cryptocurrency cannot be included in exchange control because it has not been classified as capital. The Reserve Bank is under pressure now to reclassify crypto as capital and therefore make provision that it is included under exchange control or regulations. What that means for everyday investors is that how the Reserve Bank sees crypto being classified and where that point of externalization happens, meaning if you go to a platform like Luno and you take your rand and you buy Bitcoin, do they see that as the point of externalization? Or is it when you buy crypto on Luno, therefore it's not externalization because Luno is a licensed South African exchange? That's going to be the tricky thing. If the Reserve Bank says all crypto transactions are seen as point of externalization, I think that's going to be very limiting because you're going to have to use your foreign investment allocation, your discretionary allowance, to fall under your crypto purchases. And that is going to be very limiting in terms of the growth that we're going to see in the industry, and it's just going to complicate it. So there is pressure on the Reserve Bank to really take the right approach here. And make sure that we have this licensing regime in South Africa. We have licensed exchanges in South Africa. Therefore, if you buy crypto or sell crypto on a licensed South African exchange, it shouldn't be seen as an externalization of fund where you use your discretionary allowance. So I think that's an important thing, and we can only hope that the Reserve Bank sees it in the same way, and that the changes that they will bring to the regulation within the next few months is going to be the responsible changes that they make.
Yeah. For the Reserve Bank and the SARB, it's challenging for them to regulate crypto because from the moment you purchase a crypto asset, it's on a decentralized ledger, which means it's inherently global. It's not possible to move Bitcoin from Cape Town to London. From the time you bought it, it's already global. And I think that's what Christo is really trying to express. How do you regulate something with exchange controls which are unique to South Africa? So if you look at ESMA and the MiFID regulations in Europe and MiCA, they do not deem crypto to be capital. It does not meet the definitions. So you're getting this inconsistency between regulations that we're trying to create here in South Africa that don't align with the global regulations. And that's what makes it very tricky. We're working in a decentralized global platform, and these regulations need to come together for things to operate smoothly. That's very challenging.
Yeah. And again, to Christo's point, you've got responsible regulation, which I think needs to be implemented. Everyone wants regulated financial services across the board. It doesn't matter what asset it is. But the responsible part comes in where it makes sense and it's going to grow the industry as opposed to restrict the industry. Unfortunately for exchanges, we make money on trading fees. So we don't charge account fees. You don't really charge fees for holding it. But unfortunately, when you start getting more and more regulation coming in, if it doesn't really make sense and it inhibits the market, you're still incurring costs. That cost then gets passed on to the end user, which doesn't exactly boost the growth of the actual industry. So it does become expensive. So you want the regulation there, but you want to be responsible regulation, which is applied across all the different financial services as well. So it's going to come. We know it's going to come. It's just what form it comes in, and does it boost the market to actually continue to grow, or does it put more burden on the average retail user? Unfortunately, because the fees that we obviously have to charge are inclusive of all the costs that we need to cover. So basically, at the end of the day, the retail user bears that brunt. So, let's see how it comes, and hopefully it pushes us in the right direction.
Okay, so regulation definitely affects how you transact with the crypto, what you can do, what you cannot do. Maybe you don't see it on the face. Like you care about SARS, and the SARS gonna see my tax, and now I'm gonna get taxed on whatever I earn from crypto. But sticking to this point, I think that a lot of people, the first time that they heard about crypto was with arbitrage. People were saying arbitrage, you send this money to here and something happens and then it comes back and you have more money. This is your bread and butter, Pia. I want to ask you, is arbitrage still relevant with these regulations, with the price of Bitcoin? Is it still a good thing to do, or is it just like the margins are very tiny?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm answering that question because as a company, we offer that as a service, arbitrage, which really allows users to use their SDA or their FIA to send rands out of the country. They buy US dollars, and then they can buy crypto cheaper offshore than what it can be sold for, again, here in South Africa. So we assist clients to go through that process, and we try and make it as easy and effortless as possible. And really what's curtailing that is that for a lot of wealthier clients, the margins have dropped. So you're only making like maybe 10,000, 13,000 Rand on your SDA. And for many more wealthy people, that's not worth it. But there's many people like students or retired people, even if that dropped to about 5,000, they would still find it worth their while to go through that arbitrage cycle. And arbitrage is fairly risk-free. I say fairly risk-free. And that is because it is arbitrage. You actually sell the crypto before you make that purchase. So you know what the buy price and what the sell price will be before you actually action the trade. And so to answer that, I still think at this point it's still very worthwhile for a certain sector of society.
Okay. Yeah. Now I want to ask, what's coming? What's new at Binance? What's coming in Luno? What's Five is doing?
Okay.
Digit is a new kid on the block. I think that you are the most recent crypto exchange to enter the market. So what is new and what is exciting, and what should people look out for in the next couple of months?
Two things on our side. So we're rolling out an AI bot that can help users with information gathering, packaging, and providing you with information flow that you can use before trading. And also, our users have been telling us for a while they want to see more democratization of information and trading specifically. So we've given, we created a product called Vote to List and Vote to Delist. If people really don't like a token, they can vote and have it delisted. And the same for something they really want to say. There's been a lot of polemic around the Pi network. We had to go through a process with that, but a lot of our users tell us they really want to see it. We listen, and this gives them a platform to amplify their voice, and that's been very exciting for us.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we've had a very exciting year over the last year at Luno. We've been increasing the number of assets we offer on platform significantly. So that allows, obviously, as one of the largest exchanges, if not the largest exchange in South Africa by retail customers, to trade in more assets and to hold more assets. But I think on the more exciting side is we are in the business of bringing wealth, right? We ultimately are selling wealth as a product, so to speak. So what we want to bring to investors and customers is for them to have them crypto work for them. And I think this is why we're working hard on our staking products. Just last week, we've launched staking with Apollo. That brings Atom. This brings our staking wallets to 6. So offering users to earn a yield on their staked crypto assets. I think Luno Pay is also very exciting. The developments we're making there, bringing that utility use case to life, making sure we broaden the use cases where you can actually use your cryptocurrency. I think that's very exciting as well, how we continue to expand and bring life into the product beyond just buy and sell, right? And I think, like I mentioned in the beginning, the industry is evolving, consumers and investors are evolving, and I think Luno is keeping up with that evolution of bringing more to South Africans.
Yeah, so from a 5 West point of view, we're focusing on interoperability. So as more and more people are using crypto or stablecoins for remittance, they might be using it to hedge against local currencies, they might be using it for payments, they might be using to borrow. We try to create treasury management platforms where users can come to one single interface and they can have their bank accounts linked to that interface, they can have their exchange wallets linked to that interface, they can have various cold wallets linked to that interface. So it's just one dashboard to make using all this DeFi very usable, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I think from the BitGet side, our motto is trade smarter. We're really trying to focus on invest smarter. So a lot of earn products where you can earn really high APRs compared to the banks. So we're really trying to compete with dollar balances held by South African banks. And then obviously our BitGet card, we're really trying to promote that to have South Africans actually use that across South Africa and globally. But I think our most significant piece is what we've got. We've got an initiative called Blockchain for Youth, which really focuses on driving blockchain education across the youth. We're rolling that out in South Africa. We've just sponsored our first schoolboy rugby team, which has been amazing. And then part of that initiative was to actually go into the schools, have discussions on blockchain, give a bit of an overview, just to broaden the initiative of what blockchain is in South Africa and what we're doing. We've also got an initiative called Blockchain for Her, which our CEO is a female, Gracie Chen, and that Blockchain for Her basically invests in female startups, fintech startups. So we are looking at that across Africa as well. So we're really trying to focus on giving back as well. We don't want to just be seen as a trading platform. We really want to educate, and I think with education you take away that fear factor, and like we discussed earlier, hopefully that boosts the market and actually grows the industry with people understanding crypto and understanding the digital asset space.
I think we're right on time, but I want to say, is there any questions from the public to any of the panelists?
Mike Byrne.
Can you hear me? Hi. Hi. Yeah, my name is Alex. I just wanted to ask real quick. I'm with Trailik AI, and what we just wanted to know is, what are you guys currently doing with regards to cybersecurity for self-replicating AI in the event that you guys have
Sorry, we cannot hear you.
A little bit louder.
Okay, so I wanted to know if you guys have any cybersecurity plans in place for self-replicating AI. Have you guys ever heard of it? And what are you guys doing with regards to self-replicating AI as a threat to blockchain development, and also of the ISO compliant blockchains, such as Ripple, XLM, Algorand, and so forth? Which ones do you feel are the safest to use at this point? Besides your regular Bitcoin and Ethereum and so forth. Which ones are you guys looking towards investing in your companies and making sure that your investors are happy?
I think difficult to say which one is better than not. It borders on investment advice and tricky territory for all of us. Please have a look at each of the white papers. They do cover security, they do cover the investment case, the business case. That's very much the best thing to do. At Binance, we've got a website called Binance Academy that summarizes most of the bigger coins. Hopefully it gives you a good entree into some of those white papers. But again, for me, education is key here. Please use it as a free resource, whether you're a Binance user or not, and it should give you most of the information you need.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you guys for coming. I hope that this was a very informative session. If there is anything that you want to know, links, anything, we're going to be at the back. So thank you very much for the panelists, and big applause for them. Thank you.
Thank you.